Hi, I'm Laura and welcome to the PIRATEx Deep Dive, where key personalities of the world of events and the experience economy join me to share their stories and their take on the future of the industry. In each episode, you will find a lot of helpful insights and learnings to bring your event game to the next level.
PIRATEx Deep Dive. All things remote events.
In today's session, my guest is Manuel Koelman, and he is the co-founder of Pirate and, of course, a big lover of physical events, especially crazy physical event experiences. But he is also the greatest fan and pioneer, at least that I know, when it comes to the digital event industry. And today, of course, I want to discuss with him about the future, about the potential of these digital elements. But I also want to flip the coin a little bit and look at the risks and look at the side effect these current developments are going to have that they bring along. So big welcome, Manuel. I'm very happy that you're joining us today. How are you doing?
Hi, Laura. I'm fine. I'm really happy that I can be here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Manuel, so you are not just a co-founder of Pirate, you are basically doing everything that somehow has a touch point with connecting people. So tell us a little bit. Who are you? What are you currently working on?
Well, at Pirate, we are so basically I'm working at PIRATE.global, as we're officially call it. So it's basically the mothership, if you will, of PIRATEx and a few other companies. And what I like is, or what my mission maybe also is to enable entrepreneurs and to promote entrepreneurship, and that's what we're doing. I'm the, let's say, the culture ambassador for everything or everybody that works in a Pirate, trying to keep or to build an entrepreneurial culture that we have done since 10 years now, and also trying to just build businesses and try things out.
Doing a brilliant job on that so far. Before we hop into the topic of today, you probably know it already. I already always kick off these sessions with a short one or the other game, so people get a little bit more personal impression of you. So you don't have to explain yourself, just simply go for one or the other, okay?
Okay.
All right. So is it city or would you choose the countryside?
By now, probably country.
Countryside, okay. Music or movie?
Oh, that's a tough one.
Uh-huh.
A movie with good music in it. Probably music. Probably music.
We take the music, that's good. On demand or you rather go live? Go for live.
On demand.
I knew that one. Wine or soda?
Soda.
You make
if it has to be.
If it has to be, okay. You are rather a make type of person or a buy type of person?
Make.
And breakfast or dinner?
Dinner. Speaker
or listener?
Speaker.
I knew that one as well. Okay, thank you. I think this is always nice. And I also want to kick off this session with a little flashback on when we at Pirate actually started to turn around into the digital event focus on digital events. And you highly believed into this switch. And I'm not sure whether you really did or you just pretended to keep the team motivated. But anyway, you did a good job on that and it kind of worked. And now we see that the decision was or is right. And I mean, you know it, but honestly, me personally, in the beginning, was not convinced at all. I thought we don't need this. Who wants digital events? Who actually consumes that or makes use of it? But you pushed this topic so hard, and I don't know. I was always wondering what really made you so sure about that it's gonna work?
Okay, so For me, indeed, when in March, when we had the discussion, we and physical events were basically dead. I was 100% convinced that we were going in the right direction, or that online events were the right direction. But let me explain a little bit context here. So I've been in a few crises before. I was just a spectator during the .com boom and a crash. I had invested quite a bit of money, all the money that I had at the time. It wasn't much, but for me, it was a lot, and I lost most of it. So that was how I experienced the first one. And the second crisis, the financial crisis, 2008, 2009, I started a recruiting startup, and recruiting at that time was just not really something that was very successful. It was just going against the market. So and I was riding a dead horse for quite some time. But if you ride a dead horse, you better get off. That's something that I learned back then. And then also with Pirate, we had a few crises which were basically more internal, not external, where we had to reorganize, restructure, etc., and keep everything afloat. And in March, it felt very much like the crisis in 2008, 2009. And I don't want to ride a dead horse anytime, or I just ever again. Basically, I just don't. And that was a big learning back then. So I really thought deeply. Okay, what are our outs? If you're a poker player, you always think about outs. And physical events was just so unlikely that they would come back fast. And if we would have put the company on a hibernation mode, so complete pause, my fear was that most people would just leave because they would just be frustrated sitting at home. And what do I know where the trend is? And the trend was really clear. The digital is just a trend, which is like a tsunami. You just cannot stop it. It will just come. You cannot go against that trend. So how could we embrace that trend? That was basically the main question. And I felt pretty alone in March and in April with my belief, but it was a belief that was found on experience, and I really lived through a similar times in the 2008, 2009, especially. And that's why I was really convinced that something is there. I was not expecting that it would come back so fast as it did, and that we would attract so much potential clients as we have. But I certainly believe that we could, basically save the company by going that way. And I'm very, very thankful that all of you guys, all the people followed.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I am very thankful that you pushed it that much and that helped the entire team to see this potential. But it's a really cool learning that you can also learn from or get experienced in how to handle a crisis. If you do it a second or a third time, which I wish to nobody. But
absolutely. So this crisis was the first crisis, which was probably the most existential, and for me personally, the toughest one as an entrepreneur. But in this crisis, I slept like a baby, basically. So it's definitely something that you can learn. Okay. I didn't. So I could really manage my sleep, and I didn't have the problems that I might have had in 2008, 2009, 2010.
But it's still we don't know where we're actually heading and what's coming up next. It's just a guessing. But as we just saw, you are a creative and visionary person. I know that from knowing you. But can you point out one thing, one element where you would say, this is where I see the highest potential or the highest possibilities for online events?
Only one.
Yeah, go for one. Your favorite.
That's I need to so I can state a few.
You
and
do
just
too.
need to think.
That's okay.
What is the most or what is the biggest one? So obviously, if you think about online events, I think there are two trends that are really sticking out. One this can really be something global. So if you create an event, you can really think it global without any borders. People can participate from around the world. And if you really think this online, then you can make matchmaking and networking and meeting other people much more efficient, because you can collect much more data beforehand. We have done that with physical events, but people never really put in their data good enough. The tools were not really that great. But if it's an online only experience, people will prepare for an online only world, I believe, and we'll see a big increase there. And also my assumption would be that a lot of people, even if they would go to a physical event, would get out the online app to prepare for the matchmaking, etc. So these two trends, much better and more efficient networking and global experience, are two really strong points, I believe.
And I mean, you just mentioned, though, you were just talking about the tools, and I was thinking about tools a lot. I mean, and it also takes a lot of time for us to look around what tools are there, and the providers they're trying to transform to meet the needs of the event industry, right? And that doesn't really work that well. And as you just said, it's not satisfying enough what we're having as a solution on the technical side right now. So it feels like that the opposite happens, that we make events actually fit what is out there. So I was wondering, does this behavior really boost, or does it rather harm the development of innovation? Or could we actually should innovate way beyond?
So that's an excellent point. Actually, what we have seen, and I'm not sure, but I think we haven't seen that in any industry before, is that usually you have the technology that is progressing and then slowly changing user behavior.
Yeah.
In this case, we have a big disruption of the market. So a big disruption essentially of user behavior, and the users are actually expecting something different, or maybe they don't know what they're expecting, but they're expecting online events that are fun and work. Mm-hmm. And the tech hasn't been able to basically keep up. So, and we've accelerated 5 to 10 years in user behavior or market needs, but the technology isn't there. And this has started in probably March or something like that. And we have seen hundreds of millions of investor money being poured into the industry. And that's a good sign for the tool world, for the platform world, basically. But of course, development takes time. So we'll see, we already have seen big improvements in the last months. But we'll see vast improvements over the next 12 months. Yeah. And I think that technology is going to keep up with market demand, also with the demand of customer behavior. And it will be so good eventually that we really see a real alternative towards physical events. Yeah. So I don't think it's really hindering innovation. I think that that the market will move the platforms to what essentially works, and in the end, great customer experience and convenience for the attendee is all that matters.
And we also see a lot of companies developing their own platforms to personalize it to their needs, because they don't find it out there what they actually want, and to maybe also stay independent, right? If you do a lot of events on a regular basis, you want to be independent and not fixed to one platform. So would you say platform providers are the new leaders of the event industry, or will the do-it-yourself approach take over?
Well, I really believe it's very similar to what we've seen in retail. In the beginning, everybody built their own shop. Then people, let's say the shop providers, they built better ones, and then people move to standard software, and the big players are moving away from a standard in the last years again. And these cycles we'll see all the time. And Well, so I'm not 100% sure how the market is going to develop in the event industry. Really, I think it's very logical that if the technology out there isn't just not that great, that people start to build their own solutions. They'll a lot of those players that build their own solutions will in a few years go back to build on some kind of standard solutions. They might not want the lock-in that platforms like Hopin, etc., maybe have. There will also be other solutions, maybe open source solutions, maybe more, let's say, open solutions, and we'll see this back and forth. There will be a few event players that are going to hugely dominate the market. They'll build on their own. And there will be a few players that basically where most events that will host most of the events on their own platform. Maybe Hopin, maybe Welcome, maybe some other players might be in that game. But we'll see something similar in a few years, like we see in the retail world. Probably a few very, very big players, and then a long tail of others. I don't really know if that's going to be in the platform world. I think there is a consolidation coming, not right now, but in a few years. But the event organizers, they will certainly be organized like that in a winner takes most kind of scenario.
So new idea for Pirate, create their own platform. We should think about that. He smiles. For everybody who's not watching, he smiles. No, but I mean, the online experience that we're getting is based so much on the technology, or like 100%. And I mean, we know that online events can be a great experience if they are designed right by the organizers. But we also know, and we had that in the debate with Ben Costantini as well, that there are so many bad ones out there. And if you screen through the feedback of online events, it is a fact that there is no balance, that the negative experiences right now kind of are the majority when you look at online events. And I perceive this this is not just something, this is a real threat for the industry, kind of, because if this is the majority, then it will actually have such a high impact on the future behavior of our participants. Do you have a specific take on that, on how we can actually overcome or prevent this risk or this negative side effect?
Can you rephrase the question again?
How can we prevent the risk of the negative, this is really hard to phrase. How can we prevent that the majority of online events are so far negative? Do we have to educate our competitors to actually save our own? So
I don't know if I necessarily agree that that online events are so negative. So you can
the majority.
Yeah, I understand. But you can always look at things with a negative view. But we can also be thankful that we have these kind of events, and so I've seen online events which were decent, which were good. There might be a few that are really. That are just really, really bad. But most of the time, an event experience. So there are two things that are really important in events. One is the content that is provided there, and the other is the interaction. And interaction can have you can have discussions, you can do business interactions, you can just connect with people, and maybe there might be something out of it. So there's a lot of this is very, very broad, and usually, and that's with physical events as well. Physical events, if the content is bad or the interaction is bad, they can wow you with entertainment experience, with a flashy show, whatever, and that can be okayish. But most events, or I mean, if you have been to physical events, then you know that a lot of them also really suck.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm not 100% sure that in the online world that is very different. And we should not say, oh, the technology is bad and this and this and that. It's just basically the content just really sucks. It's just really, really bad content that you are providing. And to be honest, if your content sucks, and that was different in the physical world, people are just going to close the tab, and they'll go and watch a YouTube video if they want to consume something else, or they're just going to work and have a business meeting, the next meeting around the corner. So and then where online events are really not at par yet with physical events in terms of experience, it's with the networking experience, and this is the other part, the interaction part. But what we're seeing there is that a lot of tools are being developed. A lot of stuff is happening in that space. I had the chance to have a sneak peek at Wonder. Wonder is, I mean, it really felt like I'm watching the future of events. Have a very good idea about what mingling and serendipity, etc., could look like in an online world. And if I look at these kind of things, and I'm quite calm, to be honest, and I'm also patient because I know that so much money is being put into this, that so many teams are essentially working on this, that I really believe that in the next months, and I look at Wonder and a couple of other platforms, that we're going to see quite surprising or astonishing developments there. So yes, the events that are online with content, if they're bad, the content is bad. Usually, good content also creates a good experience. My main question would be: do I need to participate in this live? Right? Does it have to be an event, or could I just participate or listen to it in a podcast, maybe? Right? Just a discussion that we are also having with this. Should this be a live show, or is this enough if it's just a podcast? And that's basically that's the discussion there, and then the interaction that will definitely come in the next month. I'm very, very certain.
Let's stick with the live thing. Like, how relevant would you say is it? When I look at the live aspect, for me personally, it's always this one thing that makes a session or a digital whatever it is, show or conference, more personal, more accessible. So in my opinion, it's like a main factor for kind of decreasing the digital distance, and to have this feeling of, even if it's a keynote speaker, to like, okay, I can now like really address him, I can talk to him, I can chat with him. So how relevant do you see this live aspect?
Yeah. So if you look at physical events, you have time and place need to come together, right? Because everybody is at the same place, and then you consume it live, and that makes a lot of sense. Of course, you can later on watch the keynote, etc. But it makes sense to be there and feel the presence of everyone, etc. But with online, you have the factor of place. You don't have it anymore, and it doesn't give a cozy feeling, and you don't have the other elements of interactivity, etc. necessarily that you have at physical events. You don't only usually go there for the content. In fact, a lot of people that I know didn't go there for the content at all, because they knew I can just watch it on YouTube or TEDx videos or whatever. With online events, what we're basically seeing is that you don't need live for content. But I'm going to explain where you might need it in the future. This could just be a podcast, and this is much more convenient for me as a attendee or maybe then consumer, because when I'm in the bus, I can make use of it. And who likes linear TV? Like, okay, you have to come on at 6 p.m. to watch a certain show or certain whatever. It doesn't make sense, right? If I'm busy at 6 p.m. because I'm gonna have dinner with my kids or so, then I'm totally happy if I can watch it the next morning at 8 in the bus. Right.
This is a really nice example.
Why wouldn't it? And I mean, I really think that convenience is in the end going to beat most of the things, because people just don't like the friction, etc. They don't like to plan around things, and we are going to really see that. But content live in events makes a lot of sense. Yeah. If I get access to the speaker, if I can ask questions, etc. But what do we see here? And it's also the question that we were discussing: what makes an event, right? What really is an event? And my current definition is an event is when people consume or watch or interact at the same time. If I listen to a podcast, it's not an event. And so this is something that you're doing at the same time. So we really need to think in which world does synchronous make a lot of sense. And it makes sense if we interact. If it's only one to many, like a radio, synchronous doesn't make a lot of sense. Right. Sure. I rather have the collection of content somewhere, have other people filter, curate, whatever, and then pick out the great ones and then consume those, because I cannot consume everything, of course. So I rather have some kind of filter curator before that.
Then you can conclude that the live component heavily depends on which format it actually is. That in Absolutely. Some aspects you really need it and it makes it up. It's the core thing, and in others, I see it the convenient way will take over or will take the lead. And
I absolutely think so, and I really think that we are seeing lazy. Currently. Yeah,
it's true.
I really think that we are seeing an unbundling of the event space right now. So industries, when they are being disrupted, they always, the value chain is eaten by a smaller player slowly. This is happening a little bit faster right now, and then things are being put together in a new form that fits to online. And I think we are seeing the same thing here. So it might very well be that also the formats and the content pieces are not necessarily being all pushed or pushed together in an online event format, but that they might also split into different pieces, and that also quite a few people might just shift away to, for example, podcasts, etc. Right? And we'll just use or lose users then.
Yeah, I know you really like this term unbundling, and I just wanted to say that I wanted to say this kind of messes up the experience of this. You get it all, right? Which I personally like a lot about events. But as you just continued your sentence with, and then put it together in a new way. This is a really good fact, and I mean I recently came across this Twitter conversation where I don't know the name again, but he said, like, you should take the event, shake it, and let everything fall out that you don't need, and then put in like new things that develops this experience in a new way. And this is a very nice vision. What I also think or believe is that the aspect of live or digital or it also heavily depends on the target group. So what I just like looking at you and looking at me, what you prefer, what I prefer in how to actually consume things or take part in events. And maybe we have to get used to the fact that we will lose parts of the target group that we liked in the old way of doing events, but on the other side, reach groups that we didn't have access to so far. Not a question, just a statement. Manuel, Yeah, I mean, we wrap this up with my super always general closing question, and I know your answer already probably, but I still want it. Do you think remote events are here to stay?
Well, I absolutely do. Yes, online events are going to be I think a big factor going forward. But I see it more like the retail market. I think it's very similar to that. Of course physical events are going to come back. But online, with every month that the pandemic isn't over, we just get more and more used to online events, and we'll also see benefits of them. And I even believe that online events can open up a completely new market, and with maybe organizers that wouldn't have thought to organize an event or a physical event, maybe because their customer group wasn't a group that they could attract and bring to one place easily. But now, because they are scattered around the globe, maybe they can easily reach them. So there's a lot of opportunity in this field. And what I'm very certain of is that online events are not going to go away. The question is more what are they going to replace? Is it going to be trade fairs? So are there going to be a lot of trade fairs in the future, or is this just a temporary phenomenon? But a lot of conferences, a lot of things that have been online, have been in the physical world, but especially also those that haven't been, are going to go online, and they will stay.
Nice. And I really like it with the when new players come into the market, that they will help us, the existing industry, kind of to develop, to push this innovation further. And as I said in the beginning, we don't know what's coming up next, but we can shape it. And I'm pretty sure we're in a good way to create a really cool digital experience, and that takes over and will be the majority. Thank you so much, Manuel, for joining us. Thank you guys out there. And we're all excited what's coming up next, and you'll hear and see in the upcoming sessions. Thank you.
Thank you.
PIRATEx Deep Dive. All things remote events.